मक्षण भूपुराण की भाषा रचहूँ सुहाय। श्रुति संभेदनाधि शिव सांभव सच्चिदानंद निर्गुण ब्रह्मा विलक्षयी ध्यायामि सुखम कदम। जेहि की माया पाय जग भव पालन लय होय। स्वयंभू स्वयंभू जजा सुबल पावत गौरव दोय। तिनको माधव रवि गणाधीश शिवयुध्य ध्यान। जो निज जिनके अग सकल चिन्ह में दे बहाय। माता पिता गुरु भारती वेद व्यास मुनीश प्रेम सहित कर जोर कर सब ही निवाऊ शीश। संप सहिता सहित श्री शिव पुराण सुखदान। भुक्ति मुक्ति दायक सुगम भक्तन जीवन प्राण। काशी पालक शिव सुमिरी गिरिजा गणपति ध्यान। शुभ वियोद संहिता दीका लिखन विदाय। नमः शिवाय नमः शिवाय नमः शिवाय। ओम हर 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 महादेव हर 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 महादेव। बोलो हर 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 महादेव हर 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 महादेव। बोलो
हर 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 महादेव हर हर महादेव।
शन्नो मृत्य संवरुणा शन्नो भवत्यर्यमा शन्नो इंद्रो बृहस्पति शन्नो विष्णुरुक्रमा। नमो ब्रह्मणे नमस्ते वायु त्वमेव प्रत्यक्षं ब्रह्मासि त्वमेव प्रत्यक्षं ब्रह्मा वेदस्यामि। इदं वदिष्यामि सत्यं वदिष्यामि तन्मां ववतु तद्वक्तारवन्तु अवतु माम् अवतु भक्तारम्। ओम शांति शांति शांति। ओम भद्रं कर्णेभिः शृणुयाम देव भद्रं पश्येमाक्षभिर्यजत्रः स्थिरैरङ्गैस्तुष्ट्वांशस्तनूभिः व्यसेमा देवाहितं यदायुः। स्वस्ति न इन्द्रो वृहस्रवाः स्वस्ति नः पूषा विश्ववेदा स्वस्ति नस्तार्यो अरिक्षनेमि स्वस्ति नो बृहस्पतिर्दधातु। ओम शांति 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 हरि ओम। नमस्ते अस्तु भगवन् विश्वेश्वराय महादेवाय त्रिभयंकाय त्रिपुरांधकाय दिगांधिकालाय कालाय रुद्राय नीलकंठाय मृत्युजाय सर्वेश्वराय सदाशिवाय श्रीमन्महादेवाय नमः। ओम नमः शिवाय। Let me take this opportunity to welcome each and every one of you. So this is the first night of these 3 sessions of readings from the Mahashiv Puran. This book entitled the Mahashiv Puran is one of the Hindus' ancient scriptures. In contemporary Hindu life, we tend to read from the Ramcharitmanas, we tend to read from the Bhagavad Gita, we make quotations from the Upanishads, we listen to the Bhagavad, Katha and Mahabharata, but the listening of the Mahashiv Puran is a trend that is drifting away. Today and tomorrow night and the night after, I will attempt to read briefly from this holy scripture in its original Sanskrit text, and in my humble knowledge of Hindi, try to explain in Hindi and also in English so that all can understand. Today the subject of our discussion is on the value of listening to this Katha. What does one gain by listening to Shiv Puran? First, we must understand that the activity of listening, to listen to the glories of God, requires tan or man, body and mind, arpan, to be offered to the Lord. That although we are seated here physically, we must invite our mind to be here. And note I says invite our minds, because our mind has a tendency to travel off on its own. Do you notice that? You want to be here, but your mind wants to go somewhere else. So for the next few minutes, we will do what is called the invocation of our minds into this body, to this place. And we chant the name of the Divine Lord, Om Namah Shivaya, in this form. And by chanting, it helps us to bring our minds together. Shiva Om, Shiva Om, Shiva Om, Shiva Om.
Shivaya, Namah Shivaya. Hari Om Namah Shivaya. Hari Om Namah Shivaya. Namah Shivaya, Namah Shivaya, Namah Shivaya, Namah Shivaya. Hari Om Namah Shivaya. Hari Om Namah Shivaya. Hari Om Namah Shivaya. Namah Shivaya, Namah Shivaya, Namah Shivaya, Namah Shivaya. Namah Shivaya, Namah Shivaya, Namah Shivaya, Namah Shivaya. Shivaya, Namah Shivaya, Namah Shivaya, Namah Shivaya. Hari Om 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 Namah Shivaya. Shivaya Namo Namah Shivaya. Shivaya Namo Namah Shivaya. Shivaya Om Namah Shivaya. Hari Om Shivaya. Hari Om Namah Shivaya. Hari Om Namah Shivaya. Shiva 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 Namah Shivaya. Shiva 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 Namah Shivaya. Shiva 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 Namah Shivaya. Shiva 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 Namah Shivaya. Namah Shivaya. Namah Shivaya. Namah Shivaya. Shiva 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 Namah Shivaya. Namah Shivaya, Namah Shivaya, Namah Shivaya, Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya. Hari Om Namah Shivaya. Sabi yung karya. Somebody clap yan. Hari Om Namah Shivaya. Hari Om Namah Shivaya. Shiva 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 Namah Shivaya. Shiva 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 Namah Shivaya. 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 Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Hari Om Namah Shivaya. Shiva 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 Namah Shivaya.
Shiva 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 Namah Shivaya.
Shiva 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 Namah Shivaya.
Shiva Shiva Namah Shivaya.
Namah Shivaya. Namah Shivaya.
Namah Shivaya.
Namah Shivaya. Namah Shivaya. Namah Shivaya. Namah Shivaya. Namah Shivaya. Umapati Mahadeva ki.
We have been chanting Namah Shivaya for 5 minutes. For those of you who were chanting, during that 5 minutes, tan or man, body and mind was here. Those of you who were not chanting, your mind was not here. Only your body was here. So tonight and tomorrow night, and then on Wednesday night, and then on Mahashivratri, wherever we are worshipping, we must start out with inviting our minds to be closely connected to where our body is and not to be traveling in the world. Some of our mind are driven by what we are smelling. If we had smelled some nice food as we came in the corridor, some of us are in the kitchen right now. If we still have some nice fragrance from home, our mind is there. If we had a little interaction on the road with someone on the road, our mind might be there. If we had some kind of a discussion at the office today that was either very good or not so good, our minds might be there. I'm reminding of all the places your mind should not be. Where should your mind be? Where? Here. When the mind is combined with the heart is full of emotions. The mind has all the things that stimulates the emotions. The emotion of the heart comes when we are singing. We are feeling love for God, but if the mind is not related to loving God, then the mind drifts away and takes away the love from God. Thus, it's so important to have the mind together with the body. Our katha today is taken from the first part of the Mahashiv Puran. And here, Ved Vyas Bhagwan and the Rishis and the Munis of ancient time are reciting to you and I the great philosophy of the value of listening to the glories. Hold these notes to me. Om Namah Shivaya. Parayashittamir vidinamayam puman nayati suganti praya pachyatapi sansasyaya etachiva puranasya kathasravano yatha jayate chita suddhi hinataye rupayat. Namah Shivaya, Namah Shivaya, Namah Shivaya. पुरुष अनेक प्रकार के प्राप्त विधि पूर्वक करके निर्भय नहीं होता, किंतु प्रवश्याताप करने वाला अवश्य सुगंधि को प्राप्त होते हैं. The great Rishi explains to the world that with a focused mind, listening to this, the glories of God, the first thing that's removed from the mind, by the way, we want our minds to be here, but the mind is filled of all kind of content. One of the constant content in our mind is fear. We are afraid. Now, what kind of fear do we have? Many of us, the fear of death, depending on what stage of our lives we are in. Many of us, the fear of success, of not having success. Many of us, the fear of not knowing. The fear of not being able to achieve what we want. The fear of unfulfilled desires. He says these are some of the types of fear that lies in our minds. He says once we start to listen to this katha, with our minds focused, that this fear is removed. We start to now open up our minds to saying there is a way to achieve that success. There is a way to overcome that doubt. There is a way to accept that death is ultimate. There is a way to accept that life is the way it is. So the first thing that we achieve by listening attentively is the removal of fear. And then, when we remove all the fear from our minds, what comes in next? The reality of our life. The reality of our life, of who we are. What we have done and what we have not done. And once we have come to this state of who we are, as we listen, there comes a state of appealing to God for forgiveness or repentance. All of that happens while we're listening. As we listen, certain words, certain statements trigger certain thoughts, and we reflect upon our lives. We reflect upon the good things or the not so good things, and then we are in analysis, self-analysis. And as we listen, we hear more, we do more analysis, and what are we doing? We are bringing ourselves to the reality of who we are. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. परंतु जैसे चित्त शुद्धि शिव पुराण श्रवण से होती है, ऐसे और उपायों से नहीं होती. Also, the mental purity that one derives from hearing, from listening, the mental purity. In our head, we are hearing all kinds of sounds. The mental purity is clarity comes to our mind. All the static is removed. And we are hearing only the pure sound. Like for me right now, the sound that I want to hear is the sound of that tanpura blending with that violin. When it's not blended, it becomes kamsuri. It throws me off. As such, it is not pure. In our minds, who may not be in tune to the music, but we are in tune to the thoughts in our minds, although the negative thoughts are overpowering the positive thoughts, and that is becoming impure. But by focusing our minds and listening, slowly but surely, there comes clarity, which leads to purity. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. The great Rishi and Muni is saying that this purity that one acquires through listening can only be acquired through listening. It cannot be injected. You cannot receive an injection that will bring this purity. It is only by listening to the glories of God with contemplation and intense devotion that the mind becomes clear. He continues to speak to us. Sadhyamana darpanam hi yatha bhavati nirmalam tatay tat kathayatoti vishuddhi yata samsayam vishuddha chetasing shivo ninam tishtati sambhivat tato yati vishuddhatma Sambhava Shambho Param Padam. The great Rishi continued to speak. जैसे शोधा हुआ दर्पण निर्मल हो जाता है, इसी प्रकार शिव पुराण की कथा सुनने वाले को अवश्य शुद्धि होती है, इसमें संदेह नहीं. He said, just like we would take a cloth with some detergent and clean darpan, clean the mirror. And when we clean it, the mirror is clear. So it is when we listen to the glories of God, it is like that detergent that washes away the impurities in our minds. And so should the mind becomes pure. Now, when we take of the mirror and we clean this mirror with some detergent, what do we see in the mirror? If I'm cleaning the mirror, what do I see? What do I see? The next door neighbors. Although I might have in my mind the next door neighbors' bad qualities, that they are bad or they're this and that, but I am actually seeing my face in the mirror that I'm cleaning. Similarly, as I listen to the glories of God, and this purifying aspect comes and purifies my mind, what do I see? I see myself. The poet tells us, Tura man darpan kehlaye, Tura man darpan kehlaye.
सारे
Winning.
और दिखाए पूरा मन दर्पण कहलाए, पूरा मन दर्पण कहलाए,
तुरा मन दर्पण कहलाए, तुरा
मन दर्पण कहलाए.
मन ही देवता
मन ही ईश्वर, मन से बरान को,
मन ही देवता
मन ही ईश्वर, मन से बरान को.
मनु जियारा जब जब पहले जग जियारा हो, इस उजले
दर्पण पर प्राणी भूलन जन्म में पाई, पूरा मन दर्पण कहलाए, पूरा मन दर्पण कहलाए.
मन ही देवता, मन ही ईश्वर. That in our minds, everything divine should be there. And here, the great Rishi and Muni is telling us that विशुद्ध चित्त वाले मनुष्य के हृदय में पार्वती सहित शिव जी स्थिता रहते हैं, तब वहाँ शिव भक्तवा शिव पार्वती के विशुद्ध लोक को जाता है. That similarly, that as our mind become pure, the Lord Shiva and his consort Parvati resides in our mind. They become very clear in our mind. It's not that we have to try to take a picture. What does Shivaji and Parvati represent in our mind? They represent the redeeming quality, the purifying quality that constantly redeems, purifies and redeems. It's an ongoing process of cleansing, purifying and enriching. And they are both together. Tora man darpan kahlaaye, He continues to speak to us about what happens to the mind and to the individual. Natarajan. Om Namah Shivaya. Atah sarvesha varshetat katha sadham matam etattarpa mahadevo nirmetva grahadimam. Namah Shivaya, Namah Shivaya, Namah Shivaya. इस कारण सब वर्णों को यहाँ कथा श्रवण करती चाहिए. इस कारण महादेव ने इसको निर्माण किया है कि यहाँ सब वर्ग का साधक है. Therefore, by listening attentively gives one the opportunity to fully realize the four fruits of life. Now let us review. Listening creates a state of mind. What's the state of mind it creates? Everybody? A pure state of mind. Listening creates a pure state of mind. When we have a pure state of mind, then we can realize the full value of the four fruits. It doesn't say we get the four fruits. We realize the value of the four fruits that we've always had. What are the four fruits? Dharma, Artha, Kam, or Moksha. We always have this. When we come into this world, we are granted all four. But although we have them, we do not realize the value of them. Many of us have many things in our lives, and we do not realize the value of what we have. Although we have it, we do not gain any benefit, because in not realizing the value, how can we gain benefit? How do we gain benefit from the fruits that we have? We have to apply them. We have to make them part of our lives. If I have a new suit of clothes and I hang it in my closet from the day I buy it, I know how much I paid for it. That's the only value it has. It will never gain any more value from that, but its true value lies when I wear it and I utilize it. If it sits there and then becomes old by just hanging there, then it existed for no value, although it had value. But only in utilizing it does it have its true value. Only in utilizing dharma, only in utilizing artha, utilizing kama and moksha can we realize the value. Now one will ask, Panditji, how do you utilize dharma? Well, what is dharma? Dharma is the religious merit, the goodness of God that exists within us. How do we utilize that? By being good and godly. How do we utilize the artha, the ability to acquire all of the world's wealth? How do we utilize that? By not only selfishly taking for ourselves, but utilizing what we acquire always with the interest of all in a positive way. Kama, how do we utilize our pleasure senses and all our sensuality in a positive way. Let it be energized or synergized into a fountain of love and affection, a fountain of care and compassion, a fountain of forgiveness and understanding. When we can channel all of our sensual energies in this manner, then we utilize them and they continue to purify us. The moksha. How do we utilize moksha? What is meant by moksha? Moksha means one with God. It doesn't mean that we have died. It means while we are alive, we are living life with God's presence. We are conscious of God's presence. We activate and realize that God's presence and share it with everywhere we go.
राम नाम के हीरे मोती मैं बिखराऊं गली गली, कृष्ण नाम से हीरे मोती मैं बिखराऊं गली गली। ले लो रे कोई राम का प्यारा, शोर मचाऊं गली गली। बोलो राम, बोलो राम, बोलो राम राम राम, बोलो राम, बोलो राम, बोलो राम राम राम। राम नाम के हीरे मोती मैं बिखराऊं गली गली, कृष्ण नाम से हीरे मोती मैं बिखराऊं गली गली। ले लो रे कोई राम का प्यारा, शोर मचाऊं गली गली। बोलो राम, बोलो राम, बोलो राम राम राम, बोलो राम राम, बोलो राम राम, बोलो राम राम राम।
Ram Nam ke Hire Moti. If we take the name of God and make it our most precious gems, and we feel good about the precious gems, and we give them freely from street to street, from street corner to street corner, wherever we meet anyone, we gracefully meet them in the name of God, share with them in the name of God, consult with them in the name of God, interact with them in the name of God. He says, then we are using moksha. As such, we will have realized the full benefit of all four of these fruits. But we can only do this when? What must exist in our minds? What? Bolo bolo? You're not sure. What should exist in our mind? Say it, everybody, please. Everybody should say, what should exist in my mind? You all are not sure. That's why you're so hesitant. You're afraid. The first thing you haven't gained yet, you haven't lost the fear. You're afraid to say it. Pandit will hear me say purity. Oh my God. You're afraid to say it. So let's all try to say that. I want purity in my mind. Bolo. I want chana and batura to eat. I want purity in my mind. Some of you can't even say it yet. I want purity in my mind. Loudly, I want purity in my mind. I want purity in my mind. You have it. You see, we are told to yell out what we want. And so it echoes within. And here Shiv Puran is so psychological that it tells us first, the first thing we have is fear. And everybody has demonstrated. Perfect example. When I say I have purity in mind, I'm not going to say that. I don't know if I want to say that. And then they say that Pandit, he doesn't know. I can say that, but I don't have to say it for him. You're not saying it for me, by the way. You want purity in whose mind? My mind? I want purity in Pandit Sharma's mind. No, no, no. I want purity in my mind. And as such, we have to invite this purity. When the purity exists, then it becomes very clear. You know, in one of my many professions, I played around being a consultant from time to time. And I know we have professional consultants here, so I have to be careful. that sometimes you have all of the tools of the trade. You have the right software, you have the right building, the right hardware, the right network, all of the fruits to make it work. And what happens? It doesn't work. It fails. The reason is because the state of mind of those involved in the implementation of this new system is not focused. They all have different agendas and they're all over the place. And as such, they have all the right tools, all of the right fruits, but yet life seems to be dwindling away without success. And then someone says, well, I've given you the right software, I've given you the right hardware, I've given you the right network. What do you want? We all say that. The parent says to the child, I've given you life, liberty, money, good care, house, car. What do you want? The child says, you don't understand me, Mom. You don't understand me, Dad. So, I got everything, but somebody doesn't understand what to do with what we have. In listening to the glories of God, it helps us to create the environment within that we can then decide how well we can utilize what we have and make it meaningful in our lives and for the lives of others. Prem Sulumapati Mahadeva Ki Jai. The Rishi continues. Om Kathaya Siddhyati Dhyaya Namanya Girijapate Dhyanaya Jnanam Param Tapsa Kaivalam Bhavati Dhruvam Asidhya Shankara Dhyanam Kathameva Stinotiya Saprapyanta Bhaveyanam Shambhoryarti Param Gatim Namah Shivaya Namah Shivaya Namah Shivaya Hara Hara Mahadev. जिसके शंकर का ध्यान असिद्ध है, यदि वह कथा को श्रवण करे तो उसको शिव का ध्यान प्राप्त होकर परम गति होती है. Listening to the story of Parvati and Bhagwan Shiva brings about steady contemplation. By listening, you are forced to contemplate. Someone says, listen, listen. So now you're tuning all of your energies. Now you're contemplating. Everything is focused. You are energizing all of your resources of energy. I must listen carefully to what has been said. Steady contemplation. And with contemplation, it leads to knowledge. Listening with contemplation needs I will learn something. And when that knowledge comes, it will bring clarity. What I didn't understand, I will now know. What I had doubts about, I have no doubts about. And all of this will lead to what is called moksha. Now, is that simple? You mean all I have to do is sit down, listen to this katha, contemplate a little bit, understand, and wow, moksha. Yes. That is why, since the beginning of time, Hindus have been gathering by the thousands and listening to this katha for year after year, just to listen. And they spend hours. When Bhagavad Katha is read, or Mahashivapuran Katha is read, it's usually read 3 times a day. Sapta, 7 days, 21 sessions. And people come and sit for at least minimum of 2.5 hours to 3 hours, and they listen to the entire Katha. And they go away filled with the story of the Lord, and their minds are so in tune to the glories of God that they have no choice but to feel freedom from the trials and tribulations of the world. It doesn't mean that they've given up their life. It doesn't mean they've given up their responsibilities. It doesn't mean that they run away from home and go into the mountains. It means that they live in the world, but do not allow the world to live within them. Om Namah Shivaya, Namah Shivaya, Namah Shivaya.
एतत् कथा श्रवणाथ कृत्वा ध्यानमुमापते ते पक्षातापिनः पापावन् सिद्धिमागता. इस कथा को श्रवण कर उमापति का ध्यान करके पश्चाताप करने वाले भी उनके पापी सिद्ध हो गए हैं. Listening to this katha, one will come to the realization that one must have lived at a prior time. Listening to this katha, one may come to the realization that one might have lived in a prior time. How many of us ever sat and asked ourselves, was I here before? Anybody ever had that feeling? I do, and I'm not crazy. Right? Andrew, you do? Right? Have you ever been to a place and said, you know, I've been there before, and there was no way you've been there in this life? Have you ever had that feeling? That tingling feeling that like you were there and you know somebody? Well, if we believe in the Hindu concept of reincarnation, that means we could have been there already. But he's saying that we will come to the realization that there was a time, because when we look at our lives and we ask ourselves, I didn't do anything to deserve this. Now, note carefully, we only say that when something bad is happening. But when something good is happening, I did something to deserve this. But if we check carefully, did we do it now or was it some other time? We tend to want to take credit that we did it now if it's something good. But if it's something bad, we didn't do that, that means you can't be getting it if you didn't do it. It must have happened. Purv Janam ka karm. It says we will come to the realization that we are in this Janam Maran, birth and death cycle. And we will have the opportunity to realize that, okay, since we are in this birth and death cycle, that means we must prepare for the next life, if there is to be one. That we must do whatever we can that the next life will be better than this. He goes on to say that it's a time that we come by realizing this, we become repentant. We want to ask God for forgiveness. We become repentant sinners and we meditate upon Lord Shiva. And then only when we repent can we gain salvation. Now we need clarity on this. You see, in the Christian tradition, if someone does something wrong, what do? They go for what? Bolo bolo. You see how you know that more than the Hindu tradition? Now, here's the next question. What does a Hindu do? What do they do? Bolo bolo. Kya? I'm not hearing that. प्रायश्चित. हाँ. So, क्या मतलब है? We ask for forgiveness, right? But we are asking for forgiveness, but how do you get forgiven? If I just did something wrong, I'm sorry, but I don't really care. I'm saying, I'm sorry. Like many people do, oh, I'm sorry. But they don't really care. They'll do it again and say sorry again. This prashit or akshama, in order to achieve this state of forgiveness, that in our state of mind, when we have this, when we come to the realization of who we are, when we understand Torah Mand Darpan, when we look into the mirror of our mind and we see who we really are, at that time, we are confessing to who? Ourselves. We have to admit to ourselves that we were wrong. We have to admit to ourselves that we didn't do what must be done. Once we have made that confession, the self-confession, then we have opened the doorway for relationship, for redemption. Unless we have made that self-confession, the doorway to redemption is closed totally and will only be opened when we have made that self-confession. In the Christian faith, it is when the person unburdens and confesses totally, anonymously to someone they do not know, they do not see, and not seen to each other. Then and only then, the preacher says, I will give you, take the sacrament, go through this austerity, and you shall be redeemed.
Unfortunately, or fortunately in Hinduism, no man can redeem another man of their sins. Nor can no woman redeem. No mother can redeem a child. No child can redeem a parent. We all have to redeem ourselves with the grace of God. And redemption is definitely possible. But it only comes through self-confession and self-appeal to God for Chama, for forgiveness. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. He goes on to explain. Om Sarve Shastre Samvijayatsa Katha Sravanam Ninam Yatha Vartama Samaradhyam Bhavaddam Dagadapam Katha Sravanatha Sambhoma Nana Chato Driddada Nidhyasa Santascheva Chittasuddhir Bhavatyalabha. Om Namah Shivaya, Namah Shivaya, Namah Shivaya. इस कथा को श्रवण कर उमापति का ध्यान करने पश्चात करने वाले भी उसके पापी सिद्धि हो गए हैं। जो मनुष्य इस सत्कथा को सुनते हैं वे सब मंगल को प्राप्त होते हैं। यथा योग शिव का आराधन करने से संसार रोग छट जाता है। Listening to this glorious katha of the Lord, listening to with devotion, listening to it in detail causes beatitude to those who listen. Causes us to come to that state of mind whereby we want to be thankful. When was the last time you stopped and just says, I'm not being thankful enough to God? Don't put your hands up now, please. When was the last time you said that I'm not being thankful enough to God? And let me ask you the other question. When was the last time you thought that some people were not being thankful enough to you for what you did for them? I'm sure the last one was more recent. But the first, when was the last time you thought that I was not being thankful enough to God? We never contemplate this. I'm not being thankful enough to God. But I'm always saying, they are not thankful enough for what I've done to them. When we live our lives and we are asking the question to ourselves that, I'm not being thankful enough to God for what have you done for me, then I am reaching that state whereby not only am I in the state of redemption, I'm showing gratitude to God for all that I have. You know what is it to be ungrateful? What does that mean? You're grateful, ungrateful. What does it mean in day-to-day terms? Bolo? Do not appreciate. So, let me see. So, what does do not appreciate mean? Well, I did something for you and you don't appreciate it. Right? So, did God do anything for us? Maybe. He gave us life, liberty, and the world and everything to do what we have. Do we say thank you to God? Do we say, well, look, I owe you so much, or I'm always demanding and declaring what is mine and what is theirs? Na ye tera, na ye mera, मंदिर है भगवान का, पानी उसका, भूमि उसकी, सब कुछ उसी महान का। ना ये तेरा, ना
The poet says, Na ye mera, na ye tera. It is not mine, nor is it yours. Mandir hai Bhagwan ka. It doesn't mean this building, this mandir. The entire world is the Lord's temple. It all belongs to God. Pani usaka, all of the waters of the world. Bhumi usaki, all of the landmass. Everything comes from Him who is the giver of all things. So why are you and I saying that this is mine and this is mine? He says, what you should be saying, thank you, God, for the privilege, allowing me this journey in this world to enjoy all that you have given me. When we reach that state of being thankful to God, He says, then we are living the true human life. But all of this can be achieved how? If we do not understand that there is impurity in our minds, if we do not understand that we need to remove this impurity, if we do not understand that we have fear in our minds, if we do not understand we have to remove this fear, then how can we? We are living in darkness. We're living in total darkness and total ignorance. It's like someone living in a box. And all they see around them is the walls of the box. And they grow up thinking that everything in the world is a wall, and then one day they punched a hole in the box and looked outside and said, wow, there is sun, there is grass, there is trees, there is fruits. And what they did, they just took the box off the head, and there it was. The question is, how many of us are living with our box, with our head in a box? And the box here is our state of mind. That we create this state of mind around us that blinds us from all of the beauty that God has given us. And as such, we're not taking time to give thanks to God. Om, Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Listening to the glories of the Divine Lord. Properly entertained, it dispels the illness of worldly bondage. Properly entertained, when we utilize this listening well, it dispels the illness of worldly bondage. Now, what is the illness of worldly bondage? What is that? What is meant by that? What is worldly bondage? Maya, attachment. I'm glad that these two people are here, because if they weren't here, we wouldn't have any discussions. What is worldly bondage? I don't want to hear from Natarajan and you tonight, okay? Dylan, you can speak. Okay, right? Okay. What is worldly bondage? Maya, attachment, was said. What is this Maya? We use this word. What is Maya? Can one of the young people tell me what is Maya? Is that somebody you know? What is Maya? Maya kya hai? Anybody? Madhuji, what is Maya? Attachment? What does that mean? Like when you plug a bulb into a light, that kind of attachment? Socket attachment? What do you mean by attachment? Want something steady. Always having a desire, always wanting more. Give him a big hand, please. That's attachment. So I'm attached to money. I got to have more money. Right? All right. What else is Maya?
Love and hate.
Huh?
Love and hate.
Love and hate is Maya. Give him a big hand, please. Love and hate is Maya. Let's stop for a minute. You mean love is Maya too? So I mean, is Maya a bad thing or a good thing? Maya is a bad thing? It's a good thing? Is food a good thing? Premi? Is food a good thing? If you don't eat, you'll die. So it must be good then. So food is good, but if you eat too much, it's bad. So then what's bad here? The food? The person who's overindulging has got the problem, not the food. So Maya is everything that the world has given us. God has created everything. All of it is good for us. But it depends on how we apply it. It will become not so good for us. God doesn't give us anything that is not good for us. The same water that you were drowned in, you cannot exist without it.
Everything that we can see around us, we need it in some way. If we use it in the right way, it will be for us. If we use it the wrong way, it's against us. So this Maya that we talked about, this attachment, you said it's Maya. What is it? That these things are the things that bind us, what they call binding attachments. And then you have non-binding attachment. You have a binding attachment. You know when two people get married? In the Christian religion, they put their hands together like this, and the priest wraps a cloth around their hand. That's called Granthi Bandhana in Hinduism. We take a cloth, throw it over the shoulder, and we tie a knot. You're bound together. But guess what? Is it a binding relationship? What binds them? They're not physically bound together. They're always separate. But in their minds, as I would say, that you should be like the water and the wave, like the word and the meaning. You're separate, but you're inseparable. We know we need money in this world, but it must not be what we live for. We need education in this world, but it must not be what we live for. We need all the things in the world, but it is not what we must live for. We must live life not for those things, but live life for the benefits that we can derive by utilizing those things in a positive way. Om Namah Shivaya, Namah Shivaya, Hare 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 Mahadev, Hare 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 Mahadev, Bolo Hare 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 Mahadev, Hare 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 Mahadev. In this final set of slokas, Devashi tells us, Om Ato Bhakti Maheshasya Putra Bhayam Bhavati Dhruvam Tadnugrahata Divyata To Mukti Nirasansaya Tadihinam Pashugyeyo Maya Bandana Saktadi Sansara Bandana Naiva Mukto Bhavati Sudrivam. Namah Shivaya, Namah Shivaya, Namah Shivaya. इससे शिव के पुत्रों से अवश्य भक्ति होती है, इसके अनुग्रह से दिव्य भक्ति होती है, इसमें संदेह नहीं। इसके बिना माया में लगा हुआ पशुवत जानना वह कभी संसार बंधना से मुक्त नहीं होता, संसार बंधना से मुक्त नहीं होता। Without detaching from this bondage of this world, मुक्त नहीं होता. One cannot gain that freedom of what we call one with God. Without detaching from this world's attachment, one cannot gain the beauty of that relationship with God. It doesn't mean we must leave our car or give up our bank account. It means we must not live for our car or our bank account and our money and our house. We must have them and let them not possess us. We must be in relationship with God. But if they possess us, we are being magnetized towards them and we are pulling ourselves away from the relationship with God. Om Namah Shivaya, Namah Shivaya, Namah Shivaya. He says by listening to this katha, one, the mind becomes pure. And then it leads to meditation upon Ganapati Devata. What is the significance of Ganeshji in this concept of meditation? Now all of us know, and we all start our prayers with Om Sri Ganeshaye Nama Bolo. Om Sri Ganeshaye Nama Bolo. Om Sri Ganeshaye Nama. We're saying in simple sense, विघ्न हरण गौरी के नंदन
Sumiri sada sukhdai re. Vignaharan, or remover of the challenges in my life. Sumiri sada, I sing praises to you. Sukhdai re, so happiness can come into my mind. Let us break this down. Ganesh represents that which holds the mind focus. In our listening to the katha, we remove the fear. We bring clarity. Now we want to stay focused. Om Sri Ganeshaya Namah. Help me to stay focused in all my endeavors in my life. And as such, Vignaharan, when I'm focused, I do not become engaged with the static in life. Many of us spend most of our lives embroiled in the static of life. Oh, I don't know if I did that right. I don't know if I'm there. I'm unsure. I'm doubtful. I'm questioning. Because I'm lost in the static of life. When I am truly focused, I'm confident of what I do. And I find it very, very rare that I have to apologize for anything that I do. Not that I'm arrogant. Not that I'm egotistical. But I always do with intent what I think must be done with the best interest of all. When I'm doing that, there is never, I'm not wondering about any of, well, what did I do? No, I'm doing what I have to do. It is not to say that we must not think about what we do. We must think about what we do. But when we commit ourselves, it must be tan or man or pan with God's guidance. As such, Ganesh being the focus, whole in the mind, here the Rishi is saying that when we contemplate the divine Lord, listen to the katha of Lord Shiva, we are always building a relationship with his son, Ganapati. Ganeshji, because we need the ability to stay focused, regardless of what our endeavor is. Everyday life requires a focus. Many people with great challenges in the world can tell you that the success they have achieved to overcome their challenges is when they came to the realization, I'm going to focus my life. I'm not going to let what he says, what he's done, what they didn't do, what we'll do, bother my life. I'm going to focus my life. And they picked a pathway and stayed on it and focused. Gradually, they achieved some level of success or accomplishment. Om Namah Shivaya, Namah Shivaya, Namah Shivaya. Thus, the essence of our katha today is that we must take the opportunity at all times, not only in occasions like this, but reading is also important. To read the glories of God, to read our scriptures. And in reading, we're listening to ourselves. Seek out the opportunity to understand more about God and our relationship to God. And the more we do that, the more we'll find that the burden of the weight of the challenges of our existence in the world becomes lighter and lighter and lighter every day. The more we understand that God is there, the more we understand that His presence we cannot avoid, the more we accept that He is our energy source, He's our breath of life, He's our sunshine, He's our rain, He's our snowfall, He's everything, then we will come to the realization that we must be thankful to that God. So in conclusion today, we only talked about the glory of listening to the katha. Let's reiterate, what are the values? By listening, it brings clarity to the mind. It helps us to rid ourselves of the fear of the unknown, of the doubts, the insecurity, the inferiority complexes that we have. It gives us a state of purity. When we achieve this state of purity, then we have opened a new dimension in our lives. We start seeing who we are. We start understanding what we have done and what we are about to do. We start seeing clearly our objectives in life. And then, pad, step by step, we'll walk the path and we'll accomplish life's objectives with a smile and with fulfillment in our hearts. Prem se bolo Umapati Mahadeva ki jai. Shiva Om, Shiva Om. Shiva Om, Shiva Om, Shiva Om, Shiva Om.
Shiva Om, Shiva Om, Shiva Om, Shiva Om.
Namah Shivaya, Namah Shivaya. Namah Shivaya, bolo Namah Shivaya.
Namah Shivaya, bolo Namah Shivaya.
Namah Shivaya, Namah Shivaya.
Namah Shivaya, Namah Shivaya.
Om Namah Shivaya.
Hari Om Namah Shivaya.
Hari Om Namah Shivaya. Namah Shivaya, Namah Shivaya, Namah Shivaya, bolo.
Namah Shivaya, Namah Shivaya, Namah Shivaya, Namah Shivaya.
Hari Om Namah Shivaya. Hari Om Namah Shivaya. Hari Om Namah Shivaya. Umapati Mahadeva ki jai. Let me take this opportunity to thank all of you for being here tonight. And kaun pehle baar aaye hai? Who's come to this mandir for the first time? Anyone here? Any newcomers? No new one? Put your hands up, please. Oh, give her a big hand, please. We welcome you to Sri Ram Mandir, and tonight we welcome you on behalf of the hardworking members of the executive of Ram Mandir and our working team. Lots of people are working, but also we are very thankful to Premi Narayan and Madhu Mistry for being our sponsors today. Premi, of course, is one of those people who is one of the servants of Ram Mandir, and Madhuji. They have been here as long as I can remember, but they still look very young for all the ages they've been here. And some of them are celebrating some special events in their lives, and we are thankful to them, and let's give them a big round of applause, please. And we want to thank Pramila, Kaushal, and family for they have sponsored Sankalp today, and we ask everyone to clasp our hands and close our eyes as we will chant briefly Sankalp, and then we'll proceed.